Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen not just your reflection, but the time that's passed through you? When memories start speaking louder than dreams, and the silence between heartbeats feels deeper. This isn't about age. It's about awareness, about realizing that what once seemed endless isn't. There's a kind of season that doesn't happen outside, but within. When your energy shifts from expansion to preservation. When you stop chasing moments and start cherishing them. Shakespeare wrote this not as a farewell, but as a reckoning. A moment of stillness inside a life that had known storms. He wasn't afraid of endings. He was reverent of them. He stood quietly in the autumn of his spirit and listened to what remained. When Sonnet 73 was written, Shakespeare had already walked through fire. He had lost Hamnet, his only son. He had buried his father. He had seen his name on every playhouse wall, and yet felt invisible in his own home. He had tasted triumph, and still, the nights were long. As discussed in Will in the World, success did not shield Shakespeare from sorrow. It made his solitude more poignant. His London was changing. Elizabeth was gone. James was king. And with the new court came a chill. The warmth of Elizabethan theatre faded into regulation and reserve. The artist who once wrote for freedom now performed for patronage. The world around him was shifting, from Renaissance to regulation, from myth to mechanism, from soul to surface. And in that space between crowns, between beliefs, between selves, he turned to poetry, not to escape but to preserve. He compares his aging to three things: a tree in winter, a sky after sunset, a fire consumed by its own fuel. These aren't just metaphors, they're monuments, built in verse, to time, to love, to the dignity of dying while still alive.
That time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bare ruined choirs, where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self, that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well, which thou must leave ere long.
This isn't a cry for youth. It's a celebration of what remains when youth is gone. The leaves fall, the birds stop singing, the sun fades. And still, love remains. Because love that only thrives in summer isn't love. It's convenience, it's decoration. But love that deepens when the branches are bare, when the fire is small, when the end is near, that is love made sacred. As Gary Waller writes in late Shakespeare and the English Baroque, this is the Baroque heart laid bare, fragile, luminous, aware of its fragility. It does not beg to be remembered. It dares to be seen in its dying light. Shakespeare isn't asking to be admired. He's asking to be loved, as he is, in the quiet, in the twilight, in the final glow before the dark. Because it's there, in the almost ending, that love becomes more true, not louder, not brighter, but deeper, richer, stronger. But what happens when love is tested, not by time, but by truth? When the body endures, but the heart begins to doubt? What if you wake up one day and ask, is love still real, when it no longer feels the same? In the Cambridge Companion to Shakespeare's poetry, it's suggested that this sonnet was written not only for the reader, but as a private dialogue with the one who loved him, a plea not for eternity, but for presence. In the next sonnet, Shakespeare stops asking. He starts declaring. He dares to define love, not as a feeling, but as a vow, not as spark, but as compass, not as warmth, but as anchor. Sonnet 116, The Unshakable Heart, coming next in Enlighten My Silence.